Okay, so last week I gave you some homework. I said last week I wanted you to figure out a way to start a conversation with somebody and then turn it into a witnessing encounter. So did everybody get a chance to do that? Okay, good. I know me and my family on, what day was it, Thursday? Thursday. I had to go pick up some milk from our milk provider, raw milk. You know, it's always really good. But while we were in town where I pick up that milk, we went to the Walmart that was nearby. We usually don't go to this Walmart, so it has not been saturated by us giving out gospel tracts like our local Walmart has, I'm sure. So we were able to do that, and I think one thing all of us found is that the first person you talk to was always a little difficult. So it was a little difficult to start that first conversation. Whether you used a gospel tract or you just started the conversation without gospel tracts, there was always some kind of fear or some uncomfortableness, some lack of confidence involved there. But I think all of us can testify, once we got that first one out of the way, so to speak, we were able to just keep on doing it. That's what we experienced. And all of our children did great. My wife did great. She had a great zeal and was helping the children too. So we had some really good conversations. We had some that didn't want to hear what we had to say. We had some that were thankful for what we had to say. And there are others who were maybe more indifferent. And one thing to keep in mind when you're trying to start a conversation with someone about the gospel is that not everybody's going to have time for a conversation. Not everybody's going to want to stop and talk to you. Some people just want to keep on going with their life. They're single track mind, and they're interested in doing something else. So they just give them a gospel tract and move on in those situations. The gospel tract speak to them later on. Okay, praise God. I encourage you to continue doing that. Don't let it become a one-time thing because you got challenged. Let it become a lifestyle. Let it become a practice that you're a witness wherever you go. Like I talked about last week, that whatever you're doing, wherever you are, it's an opportunity to be a witness. That's what we're really here for. Be witnesses for this, not to do these other things that we're doing that are side issues that are most times necessary. It's necessary to get food, right? It's necessary to go to work and provide for your family. It's necessary to do a lot of things we do, but the most necessary thing in the midst of those necessary things is preaching the gospel, witnessing to people. Okay, Proverbs chapter 11, verse 30 says this: "The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he who wins souls is wise." So Proverbs 11, verse 30, I'll say it once again. "The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he who wins souls is wise." You know, it takes wisdom to win souls. It's not a matter of just going out somewhere and quoting a bunch of Bible verses. You know, it's not just about going to every person you meet and telling them, "You're going to hell, you're going to hell." You know, they might be, but it takes wisdom to win souls. And that's what we want to win souls. We want to see souls saved. We want to see souls discipled. That's the Great Commission. Okay? This morning, I want to start out and read to you some evangelism statistics from Bible.org. Okay? 95% of all Christians have never won a soul to Christ. 80% of all Christians do not consistently witness for Christ. Less than 2% of all Christians are involved in a ministry of evangelism. 71% do not give toward the financing of the Great Commission. You know, some people, if they don't want to get involved in themselves, don't take time for it, don't really care about it, at least give towards it. But this says 71% don't even do that. One particular denomination did a survey on its leadership ministries. The results of their leaders are as follows. 63% of the leadership in that denomination, including deacons and elders, have not led one stranger to Jesus in the last 2 years through the method of evangelism. 49% of the leadership ministry spend 0 time in an average week ministering outside the church building. 89% of the leadership ministries have 0 time reserved on their list of weekly priorities for going out to evangelize. That's one thing to ask yourself. Well, you may have a planner, you may have a schedule, you may have whatever you have that's telling you what you're going to do each day. You know, I have a calendar on my phone, and it tells me things I'm going to do each day. But what plans have you made to evangelize? Because what I found is sometimes if you don't plan something out, it'll get forgotten about, and it'll never get done. So we make plans for all kinds of things. I made plans recently to go with my wife on a date. I make plans to take my son to work and pick him up. I make plans to wake up a certain time of day and get out there and mow the lawn. I make plans to work, to provide for my family. But do we make plans to be a witness? Do we make time specific, not just going about your day and doing it, specific times to do those kind of things? 99% of the leadership ministry of that denomination believe that every Christian, including leadership, has been commanded to preach the gospel. So it's not a matter of whether they didn't think they were commanded to do it. 99% thought that all Christians were commanded to be a witness. 97% believe that if the leadership had a greater conviction and involvement in evangelism, that it would be an example for the church to follow. So there's just basically been, we don't care. That's what they're basically admitting. And 96% of the leadership believe that the churches would have grown faster if they'd been more involved in evangelism. Well, those last three statistics were probably the most damning ones on there. They believe everyone's supposed to witness. They believe if leadership witness, it would give greater conviction and involvement in evangelism, that it would be an example for the church to follow. And they believe that churches would grow faster if they got involved in evangelism, but they just don't do it anyway. So, you know, at our fellowship, we strive to be a people who take the Great Commission seriously. It's not an optional thing for the Christian life. We're always supposed to be evangelizing. It's not even just event, because we do event evangelism. Like I'm planning to go to some events this week. Hopefully this coming Saturday, Lord willing, I plan to take my whole family to the Atlanta United soccer game to witness. And that stadium holds over 70,000 people. Get there an hour and a half, 2 hours before the game, preach and witness for a couple hours, and go home. Takes an hour and a half to drive there, and I have to get back. So, you know, it's about 5 hours of my life, but it's worth it because God commands to go, right? So we must be witnesses for Jesus, and we must make the time to do these things. It is not optional for the Christian. And I don't want my children to think it's optional. They see me passing out tracts, I want them to do it, you know? So I'm going to give you some evangelism, being very practical. It's like what kind of was last week, being very practical about these